regular business meeting to order. Oh, let's do it again. First time. Our second item is to announce executive session. The Board of School Directors will meet in executive session immediately following this meeting to discuss items in one or more of the following areas: personnel, legal matters, and real estate matters. That will be this evening on December 2nd, 2019. There will also be a school board workshop which will be held immediately following this meeting tonight on December 2nd, 2019. Item 3 is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have, in lieu of the inclement weather, we are postponing our student recognitions for January. So we will pick these students up in January and recognize them for their achievements during this winter season. As everyone knows, it's that wonderful time of year for our holiday concerts, so please check our website. We have concerts at all of our schools that start this week. And then, just in 15 short days, will be holiday for the students and staff from December 23rd through January 1st. So this evening, we do have recognition, public recognition. And Mr. Miner, if you would do the pleasure of recognizing Mrs. Kathy Whitlock. That means you're going to have to stand up, Mrs. Whitlock.
I am so happy to be doing this for you. This is a recognition of appreciation for 20 years of school board service from the Pennsylvania School Board Association. And it is, I think, particularly apropos that I get to do this because when I was at Owen J. Rutgers and my wife was at Owen J. Rutgers, you were on the school board. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. And you were, she was at my wedding. I believe you're also in the hospital as our daughter was born, serving as a nurse there. And I think you were the only female school board member at the time, which has changed dramatically. And I think it is not just your service that we're appreciative for, but our family has been deeply appreciative of your friendship. But the fact that you served at a time when, way back then, women didn't serve because nobody would elect them. You were a model for our family, for my wife, for my daughters ultimately, and now we're finally getting your well-earned vacation from this. So thank you very much. Item 4 on our agenda this evening is public comment. Public comment is the opportunity for information proposals and statements from individuals, delegations pertaining to voting agenda items on this agenda. Speakers are to please indicate your name, your township of residence, and the items on the agenda to which your comments are addressed. Speakers will please be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand that this is not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in the future deliberations. I will insert a little addition that I know there's been an interest in ensuring that the community feels that their dialogue is being heard. So I'm going to ask if I can, Mr. Carmine, to take some quick notes, and we're going to try and directly follow up at a future meeting to ensure that if you have a question, if you have an idea, we're just going to get back to you and if it's been heard, whether we can do it or not. So, is there anybody that has comment at this time? Sorry, I'm so used to my normal job.
Mr. President, there are no communications which I have copied off to school.
Thank you very much. Item 6 is board discussion. Do we have any discussion that is not from anybody serving on the board?
Yeah, I'd like to first congratulate everybody. It's going to be a fun year working with you. But I do want to bring up one thing that I wanted to, I think we should address prior to the meeting next January, which is the delayed start stuff. I think that there's been a lot of public comment on it. There's a lot of information out on social media. One of the things I think we should do is, as a board, just kind of move that discussion forward, because I think there's misinformation out there as well. Because one, I think we should kind of take off the table that we're going to do anything for next school year in terms of actually changing the delay to make a delayed start. But two, I think there's a lot of things that were brought up as part of that study that we need to investigate further. Busing, routes, the impact on students with homework, with other things. So there's a whole healthy environmental discussion I think that needs to be brought up by the board, and kind of maybe move beyond just people services, but taking up as an entirety of the board. So I would look to make that agenda item for the future, but also, and I don't know if we need to just table that particular delay started because it wasn't really a proposal, but I think we should at least be clear that we're not going to do it for this following year.
I think one of the things that we have learned as part of this process is we have some finance deadlines that we hit with any major changes. So I think one of the things we'll certainly have to do is ask the administration to remind us of what those calendar deadlines are, because I think it's simply to make a decision for us. If we're not going to have a comprehensive proposal that is detailed, has all the budget laid out for us, we may not be in a position to be moving it forward. Period. Dr. Wood?
So the January 6th board meeting is for the purposes of budget. And so we would need a directive from the board if you want us to be considering delayed start in the budget for the 2021 school year, then we would need a motion or directive for us to do that. Otherwise, we will prepare the budget without that in there. So we're going to need some sort of directive from the board.
Right. The board, the Pupil Services Committee will come back after the survey and make whatever recommendation they feel, and that's when the entire board will have the opportunity to delay it, to go forward. But that is the procedure because in January, finance does need to know that information. That's why that deadline is there. As a board, we can vote to delay it, or we can vote for whatever the Pupil Services Committee has gathered all the information through the surveys, et cetera. So that's when the board has the opportunity to say we're going to take another look again at that situation. It's a very complex situation.
And Pupil Services will be sharing the data from the survey, or I think we should keep the survey up, present the data in January, see how the public feels. It's going to be a good gauge for at least those options that were presented, and then we can discuss what other actions we want to take. We want to explore more, like you said, or if we want to move forward with these options.
Dr. Wood, if we are reporting out on the survey and the most recent determinations from the committee, how does that run into the budget process? Are we reporting as we need to make a decision? How much time do we have to reach a conclusion?
We would have normally preferred to have the decision in the fall when we're starting to put the preliminary budget together. The PDE timeline or the deadline with which the board has to either adopt a resolution saying that they will stay within the index of 2.6%. PDE deadline is January 9th. So on January 6th, we have 2 meetings scheduled. We have a committee of the whole meeting, which I'm assuming we'll hear more from Pupil Services. And you'll also hear from Finance Committee, and we join that. We don't have our chairs yet, but I believe that we're planning on discussing those topics at the whole meeting. And then we will have to vote a special board meeting right after that on at least the parameters of the budget. And we'll have to have some direction from the board on how we proceed, because then we have months of budget left.
For the new board's members' benefit, and maybe you do know this, I know you're going to take some PSBA courses, and I know my partner Brian Supers is going to do some introductory exceptions under the index, which there are certain exceptions allowed by Act 1 for certain escalators in your budget. I suggested probably haven't asked for any exceptions in recent time. It doesn't matter if you have or not, but if you, at that point you are at a, not a make or break point, but if you're going to ask for exceptions, you have to go back to the department at that point and ask. If you're going to stay within the index, then at that point we pass on and we take no action regarding the index. So I mean that's, I don't know if that was clear to everybody, that's the
Yes.
pivotal point.
If Mrs. Carmine will elaborate, this year we do not qualify even to ask for any of the exceptions. So that part of the job is basically done. We are not, we can't qualify to even ask for an exception.
All right,
But
we
have
presented that
last
also.
month. We went over that before. As I said, it's intricate and it's not an easy task, but that's why the vote will be taken and then we want to table it or we table it.
Outside of the survey, which will be discussed on January 6th, is there any other opportunity for public input? Is there a meeting of the People Services Committee, or would we expect that January 6th, the public would load up on the board meeting to be heard, right? So is there an opportunity aside from the survey for them to share, or is that pretty much it?
They have been holding these meetings every year.
Right, so,
Acknowledge.
It's been done. Yeah.
But I can see what will happen on January 6th.
right, and I believe that public have come tonight, prepared to make comment,
Okay.
and to let their comments be known, knowing that the new board was being seated this evening so that they were sure that their voices were heard, because they knew that the survey was going to be their last time for them to anonymously have input. So then the People Services doesn't meet till later in January. So we actually need, that's why that kept being put out there, that a decision needed to be made by January, so that we can finish up the budget.
So can I ask a question? If our meeting is on the 6th and the People Services Committee doesn't meet till late January, when would we get the recommendation for the 6th?
So that's gonna be, it's gonna be part of the committee of the whole meeting, People Services will present out there, yeah.
And also, since this is a business decision around, with costs assigned to it, I know I've seen the costs that were put out there for all the options, but I've not actually seen a detailed list of the benefits. So there's nothing to compare the cost to. I have communicated this directly to Dr. Lloyd. That there seem to be a number of benefits that are out there according to the State Joint Commission report that was released, according to various studies that have been done. But we don't have a clear list for the OJR school district of where in those effects that people say could happen, where do we fall? Do we have room for improvement in any of those areas? And do we have any income that would be expected to come in based on changes from potentially delaying or adopting hybrid courses? That benefit piece, I think, is missing from the analysis. So I know that I can't speak for all the board members, but I'm not prepared to vote on something unless I can see both the cost and the benefits.
So I guess at the risk of stating the obvious, on the 6th, we can either approve something, we can not approve something, or we could punt, which I suspect is an option. My interest would be making sure that we do not perpetually punt this, that if we actually do have to, if we determine that there's more we need to know, there's more information that needs to be gathered by the new board members, we have new board who are in with opinions, and now carry greater weight as participants, that we come back with some sense of reaching a conclusion, so we don't find ourselves in the middle of the next school and budgeting year, yet again, not being able to make a decision because of a calendar that's on us.
I just want to echo Paul's comments, and I do strongly believe we need to make this a full board decision and discussion. If it's been mainly in People Services, I think, as we all have, all these people members, always have their own input, so we get that full board, I think that would be great.
So in the December 16th board workshop that we will be having, Dr. Marchini and Mrs. Prophet will be able to bring the new board members up to speed on all of our that the district has from the People Services Committee on the 16th.
Yeah, and just, echo Carl, I think, it makes a lot of sense. We don't want to perpetually punt this thing, but if we say, listen, we need some more data, we need some more, the good part of that process was, we had a lot of participation, a lot of questions were asked, and I think now we got to decide, have we answered enough of those questions, or we got some more data to gather to get some of those questions answered, and maybe bring in some other resources that can help us, whether it be bus routing or whatever it is. I don't know. I'll wait to hear what the People Services Committee report in, but I would like to kind of have a path forward where we are satisfied that the community's concerns are addressed and that we've collected all the data that we think is satisfactory to make an informed decision, and then make an informed decision in time for whatever that is. I mean, it looks like it's a move on here, realistic, but at least we're on that. Thank you.
Is that acceptable general consensus of the board? Any other comment or discussion before we move forward? Hearing none, we'll move to new business item 7, and 7.1 is the approval to establish a student activity. You received the information in your agenda. It is establishing the high school Model UN, Model United Nations Club. Do I have a motion to approve the establishment of student activity for the Model UN?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, I'm supposed to say aye, sorry. Do I say aye? I say aye. Some people say aye. Any opposed? No. The motion passes. We also have item 7.2, which is approval of student activities in clubs and organizations, and that is the establishment of the Model United Nations Club. The account, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the Model United Club account? Second. Am I supposed to be rating off with the I'm sorry. Mr. Gill is the second. Mrs. Brown was the motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This is so hard when you're actually doing it. Sorry. The motion passes. We're now moving on to our second portion of public comment. This is the public comment which may address any item not necessarily related to the agenda. Once again, we would ask the speakers indicate their name and township of residence, and please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Once again, we will probably not engage in dialogue, but we'll listen and we'll try and report back to you any comments or questions you may have. Oh, sorry, you can also sign the vote, please.
Okay. Can I sign it after?
Yeah.
Okay. Erin Marcellus, North Coventry Township. Welcome to the new board members. I do hope that you truly realize what an important seat that you have at the table. My comment is for both the new and returning board members. Specifically, I would like to give a little address to Ms. DiMarino, because I do know that you have personally really been in favor of the delayed start, which is, perfectly, you're right. However, I want to remind everyone here that there is no room for a personal agenda on a school board. I have been a public educator for 2 decades. Many times I have seen people lose sight of what's best for the district because they become part of a power struggle for pushing their own agenda. So again, there is no room for personal agendas on a school board. You're sitting here tonight because you were elected by residents of this school district. Parents, taxpayers, alumni, teachers, and administrators. You have a duty to represent all of the people that elected you.
and to do what is best for the district overall. As far as the delayed start goes, if you followed any of the online, everyone knows I'm against it. But I'm not against science. I think no one's arguing with the science. However, we are not even following what the science is recommending. So I don't really think it's fair to keep using science as the main platform here. And the price tag that comes along with this is exorbitant. So talking about a vote or a motion or whatever you're considering for January 6th, when today's December 3rd, and this conversation up here looked really all over the place, it's irresponsible to consider that for January 6th. We have many unanswered questions. We have not done a traffic study. We have not figured out what programs are going to be cut from the budget, because we know that some programs will have to be cut from current budgets. And we don't know where ACP is going to house all of our extra students, because they already have a waiting list. So I implore you to do right by the residents of this district, and to, at the very least, table this topic for another year until more studies can be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all. David, real quickly. My name is David Sherwood. I'm from North Coventry. I wanted to talk about one quick thing, and I don't want to waste too much time. Thank you for your time tonight. I just was looking for some clarification on some of our school bus stop guidelines. My wife has been in communication with some of the members of the board here, and I'm just speaking really on her behalf, but on my family's behalf as well. We've got a roundabout denial and a change of our school bus stop based on location within the cul-de-sac. Long story short, there's some guidelines that exist on the OJ Roberts website that say roughly 500 feet of stopping distance, concerns about safety of the students and the ability for them to actually get their stop within a reasonable method. Speaking to my own needs, my daughter would have to walk reasonably short distance, but about say half a mile, quarter mile, probably a quarter mile. Well, the reason being that I'm really up here talking is there is no public access for that spot. You have to stand on the edge of the corner. And the only denial that I've been really given has been that because it's in a cul-de-sac and because of the turning radiuses, that it really wouldn't be a right fit. And all I'm really looking for is that we make sure that if we are given a denial like that, we're considering the safety of our students. Within regards to our situation, there is limited visibility, probably about 200 feet or less from two distances to the turn where my daughter would be left off at. It's a sloping, basically high traffic road off of South Hanover. And when it comes to your own children's safety, you want to make sure they're in the maximum place they can be. My wife doesn't feel comfortable even staying in the street corner because there's so much traffic. And I don't know about you guys, but we put all of our hearts and souls into our children, so we just want to make sure they're extra safe. Really, my biggest concern is there's, I think 810A is the guideline that's being referenced, and there's also a list of guidelines on the website. So either clarity to say that the guidelines really don't matter, or the only paramount reason is 810A of cul-de-sac reason is the only reason wrong. So I just would love to get some comment on that if possible. I'm going to be emailing this to the school board as well, so if there's any response, it'd be great. Thank you for all your listening, and have a good evening, and congratulations to all the members.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
If you don't mind, can this be one of the first ones we get back to you on? Because we've got a lot of information here, and obviously we need to speak with the
And I'll be
trustees
emailing
before
to
contact.
the whole board. So,
Great, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Pamela Wolf from North Coventry, and first of all, congratulations to 6 new board members, I wish you well. To Melissa Booth, Leslie Crockett, Carl Miner, thank you for your continued service. And Dr. Lloyd, you are a dynamic, ethical, extremely knowledgeable superintendent. We're fortunate to have you as our leader. And to me, you epitomize Wildcat pride. And I look forward to
Cheryl Herzog from Warwick Township. And it's very nice to see you all up here tonight. Very nice. So I understand, of course I'm talking about the delayed start survey, and I do understand that some parents feel like they haven't been included in the loop. I do understand that there are concerns, and I understand that it's a giant puzzle and complicated one, but all puzzles have solutions, and I trust that we can help figure that out by filling in some of the gaps, looking at all the problems, listening to everyone, hiring a bus consultant, for instance, and just looking at creative out-of-the-box ways to work on this problem. Because it is all about the science. It actually is totally about the science for the adolescents. When you hear things, you all know, been to the workshop, and when you hear the cardiometabolic risk emergence within a week or less of restricting sleep in students, that is just scary. When you hear that the immune system is compromised and there's a low-grade systemic inflammation that is caused by sleep deprivation, how can you not regard that highly? When you look at the anxiety, depression, and the suicidality, and you understand that there's a connection there, how can you not think about that? For the sake of time, I'll end that there, but you know that there's more. Elementary parents are concerned. Soon they will be middle school parents. They need to understand that even if their kids are not in the 75% that are chronically sleep deprived, they will still be affected by it. If they're lucky enough to have early birds, good for them. They're still going to be sleep deprived because if the environment of the school isn't healthy for the majority, that is, if there's moodiness, anxiety, depression, kids falling asleep in class, jokes about sleep deprivation and anxiety, if there are car crashes, then it is not healthy for any one of our students. It's not healthy for the majority, it is not healthy for any. And what is the cost of that? By the way, I hope you know the surveys are being taken multiply by people 7 times a day, many times a week, so I don't think that survey is actually very helpful. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you.
Heather McCurry, I'd like to say congratulations to everybody newly up here.
You didn't get your township.
East Coventry, I've talked to a number of you and I think you guys all do a good job. Congratulations, Carl and Leslie. I am thankful that you guys did pass the motion on the Model UN Club, and also somewhat touched it was the only voting agenda item on the agenda tonight. So the thing I'd like to talk about is the AP capstone subject that we've been talking about for 1.5 years now. And I think probably everybody was at the last meeting, but it's a very simple application that has to get filled out. The deadline now is December 6th, and I'm concerned that this has gone by the wayside. We've been talking about it at numerous meetings for like I said, the past 1.5 years, and it would benefit literally hundreds of AP students. They can take the AP seminar in grades 10 and 11, and they can take the AP research portion of it in grades 11 and 12. They don't have to take both, but if they take both, they get to add something else on their diploma, which is very prestigious. The program was instituted by the College Board in 2014. It's 2019. Many of the schools surrounding our area already have this program, and I'm concerned that our students in this district be offered the same opportunities that their peers do in the surrounding districts. Again, it's a simple application. It's due on December 6th, which is the time crunch. The program only costs about between $15,000 and $18,000 to implement, and that is less than the amount of money we spent to send 4 IB teachers and administrators on conferences this past spring. I think it would be a worthwhile program to put into place. How much time do I have? I would also like to add, I recognize, having sat and listened to for almost 5 years the both sides of the delayed start subject. However, there are some other things that have come out that would be beneficial to do right away but don't require an extra year to wait. And they are looking at the homework policies in the district. They're looking at simple things like a block scheduling change, which would allow different courses to be offered different days so the child doesn't have to come up and go to the same class first period every day. They were ideas that came up and have also been talked about in the public. That would be alternatives, easy alternatives right now to fix if there needs more time to look at the delayed start. Thank you.
Good evening, Carrie Cole from East Coventry Township. And I just wanted to quickly ask, in relation to what Mr. Minor mentioned earlier, that you are hoping to implement a policy where the public can raise questions, comments, and actually hopefully receive some feedback. Particularly interested in an update on objective number 4 under the student growth and achievement goal for the superintendent goals for the current year, which is to seek parent, teacher, and administration input to revise scheduling and programming for the O.J. Roberts Middle School. In the action steps that pertain to that objective, there are several steps that should have already happened, and I am just interested to find out where we are in that process, particularly wondering in relation to November timelines that the middle school teachers and school board were supposed to have had findings shared with them related to the IB and AP middle level programs, and input was to be sought excuse me, on the feasibility and the impact of these programs. And there were also supposed to have been parental information sessions conducted on the IB and AP middle level programs. So I'd just be interested to know where we are with that process, because quite honestly, I don't think we've heard too much about it since we raised it as a concern last May at the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was just speaking with Dr. Lloyd, and she will put some timeline information together for you and be directly in touch. Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 9, which is board discussion and follow-up. I will lead with just a quick answer to one question about multiple taking of the surveys. My understanding is we are collecting IP addresses, so we have a sense if somebody is taking 50,000 surveys and can eventually exclude them from the results. The other thing I would actually also like to do is address the reality of the last couple of years that anybody who's been in the audience or at this table has seen that at times it has been rocky. I know for myself, I have not always been entirely helpful with that, and if anybody's being honest, hopefully they will all maybe know a little bit of it. But I think we also want to recognize some of the things that happened very early on. We lost one of our directors right out of the gate. Jamie Freeze was somebody who had served a long time. He was friends with many of the people on the board. If he wasn't friends, at least he was a working colleague, and that set a very sort of emotional stage. At the same time, many other things were happening. I don't personally think we ever really recovered from the shock and all of the shock waves that continued from that. I think we did manage to recover our footing in the past year. I think it's one of the reasons that so much effort and attention has been placed by those of us who are holding over and those who are coming in, maintaining the collegial atmosphere up here, where we may not we don't need to like each other, but we need to respect each other. If we can't respect each other, we should at least pretend and treat each other with respect. And I'm certainly going to make sure that I do my part in that. And I strongly encourage everybody else to do so. One of the things that we heard loud and clear, whether we were running or not, is the sense that people didn't feel they were being listened to. And I can assure you that that isn't necessarily the case. You were certainly being heard, but you weren't being heard in such a way that you felt it and that you felt that what you said mattered to us all the time. And I would like to make sure that we're going to do our best to try and ensure that you're being heard in a way that is meaningful to you, that you're getting the answers that are meaningful to you. That you may not like them, we may not be able to give them to you in the way that you want all the time, but if we're not, we can hopefully at least explain things like what our deadlines are, what came up that stopped things from happening, that it doesn't just fall into a black hole. And that's the commitment I'm going to make to you, and I think it's a commitment that the rest of the board shares at this point and is interested in managing. So with that, I will turn it over for our taking over the agenda by talking too much, but I'll turn it over to any other comments we have before we reach the end of the meeting.
So just want to echo that, Carl. I think that's, something that we heard loud and clear about transparency. So with that, Aaron, David, Pam, Cheryl, Heather, and Carrie, thank you for your comments. And I think, we all hearing that, and we're hearing that from the community, not just, delayed start, but de-leveling and the middle school stuff. We understand, AP capstone, Heather, all these things that we're going to investigate here, and we'll try to, I would like to see the board respond back out in such a way that says, here's what came up, here's questions we have other people, whether in this forum or through the letters that come into Ms. Crumrine, we just come and get back and at least acknowledge that here's where we are with these things, and we can follow up and talk to everybody. And in the future, I don't know if we have an answer, I know Maryland's going to have the answer, but if we do, I'm not opposed to us just spelling it out right after the comment part, and we can just get to it, so.
One thing we do need to be cautious when we do respond with a quick answer is that our answer is correct and legally sound, because sometimes we might go astray in the attempt to respond immediately. That's one reason we initially had decided to wait, and we would often come back to the next business meeting if we had a good response to make. Speaking of a couple issues that were brought up, one which is the AP capstone, we did have a full presentation to make, and it became interrupted that will be made in the very near future. So there will be all that information out for everybody to look and see why our educators have chosen the path they have chosen, and that information is already all put together and will come back out in full with another opportunity in January when we are not constantly interrupted. So that's prepared, is there, and it will be discussed in public with that addendum and agenda listing. So that is one reason why we have hesitated at times just to come back directly. We want to be right before we say something. Have to watch for that.
Agree with you 100%. That is
Yes.
fair enough.
To follow up on that, Mrs. Booth, the presentation was made. Mr. Miner had brought it up at the last meeting, and the new board members will be briefed on that presentation in the board workshop that will be taken on January 6th. So Dr. Soder will be leading that board workshop on curriculum for our new board members, and she'll review AP capstone along with the block scheduling and why that's not being recommended by administration. So that's January 6th. David, I apologize for not getting your last name when you gave it. Sure, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is an item that we're able to discuss in executive session. It has to do with safety and security. So we'll have the opportunity to bring the new board members up to speed on this, because you have been in communication with Mrs. Crumrine and with myself, and so we'll be able to bring them up to speed after this meeting. And then, Carrie, if you stick around, Dr. Soder can bring you up to speed on some of the hurdles that we have encountered with the middle school and the scheduling of the middle school and trying to build much more comprehensive schedule where students are getting their schedules in the same format that our high school students are getting their schedules. So Dr. Soder, sitting up here in the front, she'll be happy to talk to you about where we are with the work that's being done at the middle school.
And Dr. Lloyd, will there be a briefing on the middle school direction for the board as well?
Right,
Because
so
I know I got to attend the May meeting, there was a lot of information
Right.
there, I don't know.
that's part of January 6th also. Okay?
Dr. Lloyd, prior to January 6th, is there any information on that AP capstone that we can look at prior to the meeting? So we're
Absolutely. I think the presentation's already on our website.
It is, it's in Board Docs as well, on the presentation, and your recommendation is in Board Docs.
Great, thanks.
Bring up one new business item, so forgive me for not knowing exactly how to do it, but one of the things I noticed that we're doing with the board, and I had already asked Ms. Graham, this is North Penn has a rebate program for taxes for senior citizens who qualify under Pennsylvania relief. And it is for vulnerable seniors who are, for property taxes, who are able to apply for a rebate to get relief from an increase in the taxes. And I know we have very limited things that we can do as a board, but there are some minor things that we can do. And one of these things I think is going to be sort of potentially immaterial to us financially, but material to an individual who's on a fixed income, who would qualify under this, to kind of hold them harmless from that tax increase or some portion of it. So, and I know North Penn does it, and some other school districts modeled after that. And I was wondering, maybe Ms. Graham, you could just comment on that a little bit, what that was about.
Sure, North Penn has a tax rebate program. It's a little bit different than ours. Right now, we have a senior volunteer program, and then they actually have dollars rebated against their taxes. North Penn's program really follows or models the state of Pennsylvania's program, where it follows an income guideline. So it's really based upon your income level versus your age. So it includes income. So there is potentially greater benefit to more potentially tax-paying individuals. So it is something that we can look into, or provide us to look into, and then we can marry with our existing program. I would not want to remove the program that we have, because we have many seniors that would qualify financially for the state program, and that might go on their own schools and have the tax rebate. So maybe we can come up with someone considers both, if you're interested.
Yeah, I would. Motion to say, could we look into it?
Sure. Mr. President, what do you, it seems like that falls into, request for information, and also would be a finance committee discussion.
Yeah, I would be interested in hearing the administration put forward what might be a possibility there too, because I did a lot of door-to-door leading up to the elections, and I remember going to one house where there were two working individuals. They were what I visually thought should be retirement age, but they were still working their jobs because they were afraid they would lose their house if they both stopped their employment. And that's, I think, terrifying for all of us who live in the school district.
We'll ask the administration to work with finance, and we will get to looking at this. Yeah, that's one. Honestly, it's something I am always unclear of what we're allowed to do and what we just don't do. So I'm interested in learning more about it. Any other comment? Do we have any requests for information?
I would like one piece of information. I'd like to get an aggregate amount of monies that we do spend on our advisors for our different clubs, etc. I think it's rather hefty, but I would like to know what the aggregate amount is, and it does vary by experience in a particular advisory position, but every advisor does get stipend. Nobody appears to say that there is no cost associated to any of our clubs is untrue unless it's a club not attached to the school district. So we do spend monies, and we like to do that. We like our kids to stay occupied and to have all these opportunities to get involved in different clubs. But as money gets tight and there are more demands, I think it's something that might be helpful to know front. You know, what the aggregate amount is, not what each particular person makes or what each club costs, just an aggregate amount for the year. And I know in your magic, I'm sure it's on some particular page in a 309-page document, but if you could just highlight that page for us, or I'll be happy to provide that information.
Just to clarify, Mrs. Booth, you're looking for money spent on club advisors or club advisors and athletics?
Let's do both, club advisors and then athletics.
And just to clarify, that we do have some clubs where teachers volunteer their time. So there are some of those that we can certainly include those that teachers volunteer time for,
Okay.
as well as how much money is spent
Okay,
for
fine.
advisors.
Thank you.
Is it possible to report out how many positions are going unfilled on a daily basis and an average for the middle school, high school, and elementary schools? I know that there's a program that reports that out, but I've heard sometimes that's inaccurate because it reports out at 6 a.m. and sometimes there are positions that open up that aren't captured in that report. I just want to understand, what I've heard is that we're struggling to fill with substitutes and we're struggling to fill professional positions, and wondering how we can fix this issue. But I think that would be great work for next year.
So, yes, we can provide the information on the number of teaching positions that go unfilled and the number of para positions. This is an issue across our whole state. Every school district is grappling with this, along with substitute bus drivers.
Yes.
And so, yes, I can share that information with you. We have, that's the reason why we do our own job fairs, for this very reason. We just changed the process we were using for substitute paraprofessionals to use the service that we use for substitute teachers, so that we could draw from a wider area, because all of the substitute paras were just employed by ONJ, and so now we're trying to cast a wider net, but it's still a concern. And then we will, Mrs. Carmine and I will be talking probably with the Personnel Committee about the need to look at the wage that we're paying for our substitutes as it compares to the local area.
Any other customer information?
I have a question. We're talking about the whole idea about transportation, needing a transportation consultant or possibly having a traffic study. Just curious about what the procedure is for that. Is that something that would be decided by a committee to take that on, or how would we go about putting that, something like that, into action quickly?
So if that is a recommendation, we'll say the Pupil Services Committee, since that's where that topic seems to be residing at the moment, that would be a recommendation that we would want people to bring forward soon so that we can budget for it. It's a very costly expense, and since we're in the process of building that budget, now's the time, if the board has desires like that, for us to allocate funds by January 9th would be good.
Can we get a proposal before then from one or two or three of these? Yes, we understand what dollars we're talking about and when that study can be done, just so we have an informed decision there.
Sure, absolutely, and really, it would be something that we would be looking to build into our budget. And those discussions, you will be receiving presentations with about 20 different cost centers within our budget. You will be receiving presentations from every cost center, budget cost center manager in detail, and those are great opportunities for you to bring up things that you think like the transportation budget. But if we know ahead of time, we can be working on that right away.
All right, very excited.
So you'll often hear that discussion about when a board member is requesting, we made a large expenditure. You'll often hear us say we didn't budget for that, and so we want to try to capture any of those ideas early on.
I would like to make a quick suggestion on that. I have been involved in buildings and grounds and transportation. I think all the board members need to visit Mr. Gray's room. It looks like a war room. He's in constant daily reissuing of bus lines, et cetera. So it's not something that's just put together willy-nilly. It has taken a long time to even get it as expeditious as it is. I think it would be helpful if everybody would go into that room and see what that looks like on a daily basis. So he might be a good one to maybe suggest who might be able to assist in student before we put out an RFP. So anyway, I think that's maybe something we should do with the new board, get to see Mr. Gray's war room.
We have, I don't know the date off the top of my head, we actually moved one of the committee meetings to the Warwick building.
Yes.
So that our new board members will be able to tour the offices that are over there, which includes transportation and our IT department, as well as facilities.
Good.
One last time. Any additional requests for information? No? Okay, well, hearing none, I would like to remind everybody we have an executive committee meeting immediately following this in the library.
The library.
In the library. I want to thank everybody for coming. Please pat me on the back, not breaking